Hello and welcome to a new series where we're going to be looking at games that make for interesting score runs. The first game that we're looking at is Noiz2sa. This is a game by a very prolific developer, Japanese developer named Kenta Cho, also goes under the name ABA Games. And this is a bullet hell shooter that is mostly focused on dodging, but the shooting will come into play to some degree. It has 10 individual levels and a few endless modes of differing difficulties. The endless modes are very close to pure survival games. They're games where, to get a higher score, the main thing that you want to do is just try and survive longer. And so you want to play it safe and just try and make it through. And that can be really fun. That can be really interesting. You can have a lot of dramatic moments as you're trying to squeeze through the very tight patterns, but it always comes to an end. Now, what I really like about the individual stages is that they are true point press games. They are levels where you have a finite amount of time to squeeze as many points out as you can. And so you can't play it safe. You can play it safe. I always say that every game starts as a survival game. The first thing you have to do when you're learning to score run a game is learn to survive it. But the reason I like these ones with endings in particular is because once you have learned how to survive and get to the end consistently, then you have to start taking risks. And really interesting risk-reward dynamics come up. In this game, you have to shoot the enemies to make them drop points, and then you have to pick up the points once they've been dropped. And so there's a lot of situations where you could dodge a bunch of fire and just kind of hang out on the side and avoid it all, but if you get right in front of it and try and weave your way through there, you have a chance to shoot a few more enemies, collect a few more points, squeeze a little bit more out of that. And that's where I think the most interesting kind of dramatic play comes in, is when you have to take those risks. So there's 10 individual stages, and each one, they get progressively more difficult. Each one has its own mix of patterns and enemies that I find really interesting. And I find it really fun. This is a game by a solo dev, one of the early solo devs from kind of the early indie movement. Incredibly prolific developer who is very good, very experimental, just does really interesting ideas, and I really recommend checking out his games. A lot of his games make interesting score games, and a lot of them are going to be showing up on this series. But for now, I just want to share this one with you, and I would like to know, what do you think of this series? Is this something that seems interesting to you? Is this something that you would want to watch? And are there any games that you think would make for good score runs and that you would like to try score running? And I want to extend to you a challenge, see what kind of scores you can get. This is a free game. All of Kenta Cho's games are free. So I recommend downloading this, giving it a shot, seeing what you can do. Links will be in the description. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you will join me in the future. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.